And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Hellfire Agency, also known as a mission of the Church of Korihor. It's Wednesday service. I'm so happy to introduce my guest today, Kyle Butler. How are you?
Hey everyone, I'm doing good. How are you?
Cool. Kyle Butler is an ex-pastor, and also, I don't want to surprise you, Kyle, but you are black, and I
Wait.
no,
What?
no, I dropped that on you real fast. I apologize. It's a hell of
Wait
a
a minute,
thing to
isn't
drop on a
October?
guy.
Isn't October surprise next month?
Every month, every year is Jesus's election year.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed getting caught up with you, getting to know you. You're blowing up on TikTok. Don't mean to use the word blown up. Nobody overreact. I will mention I am in Utah County.
Ooh.
Today is September 10th, and I just want to say that I was so happy between the hours of noon and 5 p.m. to be outside cell service kayaking with my dear friend Luigi
Mm,
Mangione, who is a
yeah.
goddamn saint and would never harm a soul. Yeah. So, yep,
Yeah.
it's a treasured time.
Understood.
Um, so we start out Wednesday service, Kyle. Sometimes we're going back. I think we'll get back into it. Let's give it a try. Amazing godless hymns. Are you ready to hear our newest godless hymn?
Let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if we can impress ex-pastor, atheist Kyle Butler with our newest godless hymn, Mammon Tabernacle Choir.
Wait a minute! This Exmo's got something to say?
Oh, big surprise!
Oh, fuck off. Golden angels
Show the fruit
and Jesus.
in an Armani suit.
Will a man rob God? Holy dividends, turning prophets
Into Caesar's friends.
Hosanna shout,
Shout.
For Jesus IPO, revelation on the line.
On the line,
Hold the phone.
sing it loud, loud. Mammon Tabernacle Choir, stack the pews with glass and fire. Follow the prophet, raise the rent, tie the poor until they're spent.
Will the meek really inherit the earth? First shake them down,
For all their worth,
build a den of thieves
on the sacred side, build the kingdom.
with the widow's might. Hosanna shout, emerge again, ring God's closing bell. Amen.
Sing it loud, loud. Mammon Tabernacle Choir, stack the pews, with glass and fire. Follow the prophet, raise the rent, tie the poor until they're
And
I love it. I love it. I love it.
did
Especially
you ever
build the
play?
kingdom with the widow's might. I love it. I love it. Give me those mites. Give me those mites.
You got to get more of these mites. I don't know, man. I tell you.
Oh, that was classic. I love it.
Good. I have a more solemn, contemplative hymn to share with you when we close at the end of the hour.
Okay.
But we got to do this again sometime, just so that I could play for you. One of my favorites is
Okay.
a hymn we call "More Money Than God."
Ooh. Yeah, I like that.
Delicious.
Oh yeah.
You like
Yeah. I
that?
like that.
You were a pastor for 16 years, is that right?
16 of them. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how'd you get into that?
Well, I grew up in the church, and we had what would probably be classified as a small church. So, between 50, 70 members. probably in that range, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes maybe a little less. I kind of grew up in this church. Even though we had moved to Virginia for several years, we had come back to New Jersey and linked right back up with the church. By this time, I was 18. I had no intentions on getting to ministry, no intention on really doing that whole church thing. I had enough of it being a kid. I wanted to free myself, but I wasn't free from my mother's control, you know. And in her world, if you're in this house, you're going to church. So there was a brief moment in my senior year where they had went to Georgia, the family, and I was allowed to stay in New Jersey and Virginia to finish my senior year. And I went to church maybe twice.
Ha!
Maybe twice. I'm thinking of how many times, and I think maybe twice I went to church. But that was,
I probably,
I was
I probably
free,
loved it.
Yeah, I was free. I was like, and there would have been no reason I would have gone back to church again, except for I got back with my mom. And so I really wanted to get into business and start my own life and do that whole thing. But being in this small church, everybody and their mother started coming to me. And this really had started when I was about 16. I started getting all these words, God has his hand on your life, God's going to use you mightily, God has a call in your life, da 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 da. So by the time I was 19, I was like, okay, fine, I guess I have no choice. That's really how I felt. I've got no choice. I better do what God wants me to do or else. And true to form, for me, anything I do, once I commit to it, I'm in. I'm like, hey, let's do this. Let's become the best we can be and the most, whatever. Which led me to, by the time I was 21, only 2 years later, being ordained into the ministry. 2 years after that, I was being ordained again, and then 2 years after that, I was being installed as the pastor, and that's how it started.
Wow. So 6 years in preparation to becoming the pastor.
Yeah.
And were you studying in seminary during that time, or was it?
No, I came from an old school Pentecostal pastor who believed that you get your knowledge through neology.
Oh wow! Screw that theology.
Yeah,
Too
yeah,
heady.
yeah,
Get
yeah.
that
Some
get
knee.
that faith
Yeah,
down in those knees. I
that's
got you.
right. That's how you get it.
That's I suppose that's very similar to how Mormonism is too. So I guess I get that. What so Pentecostal then. So
Yeah.
you were a pastor, like
Yeah, I grew up in the Pentecostal environment, Pentecostal holiness. Let me throw that in there because that's a whole different beast almost. I mean, where everything's a sin except going to church. Pentecostal holiness, everything's a sin except church. Um,
okay.
but it never fit me, although I inherited this church. It took me some time to kind of break out of that mold and I was more of a non-denominational type person. I wanted to be more charismatic and just more open and more uniform, I guess, in a sense, for welcoming a very diverse group of people. So I was trying to break away from the traditional black church mold to to fit the vision that I thought I had or had been given to me to really grow this into a multicultural, multi-dimensional type ministry. And that was where my heart was. I wanted to be able to bridge those gaps. So like I said, I did it with every bit of sincerity that I had, although it was never deep into my heart as far as something I wanted to do. So
Okay.
yeah,
But doing it, I mean, and
but doing it, yeah,
faithful.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
I figured I didn't have a choice, and if I was going to be anything, God was going to get me there. So submit yourself to Him and all that jazz. Uh, and I went as far as I can go, and the inner turmoil, the inner conflict, the inner wrestling that I had from the very beginning eventually overtook me.
so you feel like you were deconstructing right from the get-go of the pastor experience, or
So as soon as I got that 19-year-old boy who said, "Okay, God, I'll give you everything I got." I remember I used to go to church and I'd be in the church service and I would feel so odd, like I don't belong here,
Hmm.
you know? And I thought I had a demon on me, you know? because I thought, how can I feel so disconnected? People are running and shouting and praising, and they're doing church, and everyone looks happy and excited, and I'm over here like something's just not right.
Right.
Something's just not right. So I thought I had a demon. I thought I was oppressed with a devil, and I was terrified because we were big into the deliverance ministry as well. And I thought any moment the pastor was going to say, "Okay, brother Kyle, I'm tired of this devil messing with you. Come on up here. We're gonna get this demon off of you." I was terrified. I would go to church like just knowing any moment he's going to call my name out and embarrass me in front of the whole congregation.
That's definitely a unique experience. I can say I had a lot of weird and bad experiences in Mormonism, but I never was worried they're going to call me out in front of the congregation. Like, we're gonna get a demon out of Brother Rome.
Yeah, because something's not right with that brother over there. But
Now
in
let me ask you
retrospect,
this.
looking, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Oh,
Yeah, in
well, I was just going to
retrospect,
ask you,
yeah,
did you ever cast demons out of people when you were a pastor?
I tried once, didn't work. So
Me too. When I was a missionary in Peru, I tried once, and my companion later asked me, he's like, "Do you think that worked?" I'm like, "No."
that's sad but true story. The person I tried to do that on was, and I still get very emotional when I think about it. It's my autistic nephew. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my gosh,
yeah, yeah.
is he okay?
Today, I mean, he's still autistic, but um,
Yeah.
you know, we thought, hearing this being put into our ears all these years, that it was the devil on him. It was the devil. It was the devil. It was the devil. And so one day I was like, you know what? Enough of this. We're going to deal with this today. And at the time, because I thought it was the right thing, and my heart was sincere to try to help him.
Mm.
But once I came to my senses, man, that was probably the darkest day of ministry of my life. And I've apologized and begged my sister to forgive me hundreds of times. And she has, thankfully, but that was a bad, bad moment.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. I mean,
Yeah.
as a person with autism and who's raising children with autism in a state where we basically have to fight against our Mormon neighbors and our Mormon domineered government to say, this is real. And you
Mhm.
can't just tell us that, oh, your child is still in diapers and, so they're being neglected, and it's like, okay, but, when you have to struggle all the time, but at the same time, trying to hold some grace. I think it's an interesting thing. I mean, you tell me how you feel. Leaving and deconstructing religion,
Mhm.
to look back on yourself and
Right.
say, I did this. I did it.
Mhm.
I own it. I did it.
Right.
I had the most sincere of intentions when I did it.
Right.
That doesn't make it right,
Right.
but I can have a little more patience with people who are still in the church and say,
Sure.
I remember that. Is that right?
Absolutely. 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 I have a series on TikTok called The Stupid Things I Used to Believe When I Was a Christian. And it's all first person stuff, you know. So I'm not, calling you stupid if you believe this. I'm saying I was stupid. And and then I talk about the levels of my stupidity throughout the series. Because that is me showing some grace to those that are still there by taking the ownership of it from a first person perspective, you know. Because at the time I didn't think they were stupid, obviously. But I look back on it and I can talk about me that way, and throw the shade on myself, while still bringing the topic to the surface to give people who want to something to think about.
That makes no sense. I mean, is that a lot of this? I mean, I'm interested in knowing what's different about your experience from mine. But I'll say that is so familiar to a lot of ex-Mormons, because like we even have like T-shirts and like coffee mugs that people sell that say, "I'm sorry for the shit I said when I was Mormon." And it's like, and people when they're new to leaving the church, they say it all the time. Listen, I just gonna break the ice with you. I'm sorry for all that shit I said when I was Mormon. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had the best of intentions at the time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, for sure.
But about that, I was curious about this because I had mentioned to you when we talked yesterday. I interviewed Mandisa Thomas a few weeks ago from Black Non-Believers, and I watched quite a bit of her content on YouTube, and about how much confrontation she deals with inside the Black community, being a Black woman, speaking against Christianity, and frequently being accused basically of internalized racism because she is against Christianity and against God. Is that part of the experience for you, or how is that experience for you?
I probably don't get that as much as she does. She probably gets an extra dose of it because she's a woman. But let me say this. I one of the what I think one of the sexiest things is hearing a woman talk about deconstructing. I think that is badass sexy. I just do. I mean, no offense to anyone listening that's doing it. I don't mean that in a perverted kind of way. I mean that in a you're the shit. That is some cool ass shit because for a woman to stand against patriarchy, to stand up in her own intelligence, because remember, women are the major percentage of women in religions. So nearly every church you go to, you'll see more women than men, no matter what the type of religion or church or denomination. And that's just how it is. So, and I'm not saying that women are in that way because they don't think or because they're incapable and because they're weak. That is not it at all. I don't know why. I know that in the church I grew up with, there was predominantly women trying to drag their husbands in, but mostly women. So to see a woman who was in it deep and now out of it and being able to articulate it and talk about it and stand in front of people and say, yeah, well, yeah. I think that is just badass sexy. I just do. I mean, I just do. And I love to hear women talk about it. And I try to follow every time I see one, because I just
Yeah.
think it's incredible. But then on the Black side, I was thinking about this today because we talked a little bit about this last night, but I was thinking, in the Black community, it's very rare for a person in the Black community not to believe in a God, not to go to church at least occasionally, or not to be considered affiliated with some type of religious organization of some kind. It's very rare in the Black community. And I was thinking, why is that? Well, a lot of it can probably go back to slavery. So, we were brought here and then we were indoctrinated with Christianity and told this is what we had to be, da da da. So we lost our own sense of spirituality, whatever that was. And through that process, God and Jesus became our hope. Kind of the children of Israel's parallel, perhaps. It became our hope. And through all of the injustices we faced throughout the years, we've clung to that hope for help. But I also believe we have a tremendous amount of fear with it as well. So just as much as they put this religion on us, they also built into it a tremendous amount of fear. I don't think any other culture is as afraid of God as we are, you know? And I think that's the dynamic why in the Black community, it's very hard to find people who don't believe in God at all, who at least don't go to church occasionally and won't does not have some type of religious affiliation. Again, I think grandma and them. I don't know anybody's grandma who doesn't believe in God in my community. So you're
Sure.
around grandma, you're around mama, and there is still in this stuff about God in you. And again, it's almost incomprehensible in our community to be someone like me and someone like the lady you mentioned. But fortunately, it's growing. Um, that I can say. Fortunately, it's growing, and hopefully, we're the Harriet Tubmans of deconstruction, perhaps trying to free our people.
Mhm. It's like every Like you can basically expect that most black atheists or agnostics are first generation. It's like, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes sense. So when you say it takes courage
yeah.
because
I was totally surrounded by Christians.
Hmm.
Everywhere I looked was a Christian. In my house, we went to church all the time. So in church, my mother pretty much wanted me only around Christian friends. So I was surrounded by Christians. If I went to my grandmother's house, she was a Christian. If I went to my uncle's house, my cousin's house, who was an older guy, but he was my cousin, he was a Christian. So everywhere I went, I was surrounded by Christians, you
and
know.
then you go
So
online to social media. You were telling me you had started a Facebook page. You have a Facebook page where you
mhm,
still post, but the people there largely were people who followed you when you were a pastor. So
yeah,
that had to be awkward. I mean, there had to have been an awkward post where it's like, so
yeah.
Kyle here, Pastor Kyle, just wanted to drop in to say, well, what was that like? When did that moment come where you're like, I gotta tell these guys, I'm out.
Yeah, my deconstruction probably started in 2009, even though I was still heavily in the church and as a pastor, and I was just discovering the message of grace. And that was helping me deconstruct from some of that early Pentecostal holiness, religious performance stuff.
Hmm.
And when I found grace, the grace message, I thought, oh boy, this is it right here, buddy. Boy, this is what we should have had from day one. I'm gonna take this and run with it because I got it now. And
Hmm.
that took me a little bit down the road, and then I kind of morphed into a little bit of the finished work of the cross and the finished work of Jesus, and then I morphed a little bit more into universalism and hell can't be real. That's just I can't see a loving God doing something like that. But every time I kept going, just found more questions, you know. And so I was posting this journey along the way. Um, and then eventually it just got, I'm not going to say darker, but it just got more and more and more where I started writing God in a lowercase g, on purpose, but just kept progressing. And I think when I started talking about my disassociation with Jesus, that's when people started having the questions, like, well, what's going on, what's wrong with you, are you okay? I'm fine, I'm
Right.
fine.
And that was that reading and getting more acquainted with the story of Jesus, the story of the Bible. What drove you to start going, I don't know, this Jesus isn't quite what we thought he was.
Yeah, for me it was, you know i i, I want to help people, right? um I don't know if I have a deeper desire in my heart than to help people. And when I started taking stock, for my own self, I started looking for something tangible. Out of all these years of faith, out of all these years of belief, after all these years of church, after all these years of service, after all these years of dedication and faithfulness and prayer and worship and all the things, the Bible study, all these years, I was searching desperately for something tangible
Hmm.
that, if I hadn't had this one prayer, this tangible thing would not have happened. If I hadn't been in this one church service, this tangible thing that I still have wouldn't have happened. If I hadn't been, reading my scriptures this day, this tangible thing would never have happened. I was looking for something tangible. I needed something tangible. I found a hell of a lot of emotional shit. I was laid out on the altar. I was crying before the Lord. I was dancing in the spirit. I was, Hudama Shandaba, Shataboko, that kind of stuff. Found a whole lot of that.
Hmm.
And when I deciphered all of the emotionalism and emotional feelings and all that stuff, and there was nothing tangible left. Nothing tangible there, rather. Nothing tangible. Nothing I can say, yeah, yeah, this proves God. Yeah, 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 this proves Jesus. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This, I mean, unmistakable. And then I said, and that took me to a point of realizing that for all the help I was believing was going to the people because of their faith, I realized that no one had ever been helped. My nephew, he never got healed. Other people in my church never got healed. I then I started watching my predecessors start to die off And they didn't die just regular, oh, he fell asleep last night, never woke up. I mean, these people are dying with dementia in nursing homes and just in, just really rough situations. And I started thinking like these people gave God 50 plus years of their life, and he couldn't even guarantee them a safe passage or passage over more dignified than this. So I was
Mm,
looking for those tangible things, and I
mm,
couldn't find any. And I tell people today, I didn't really, quit on all that because I wasn't getting what I wanted. I couldn't deal with the fact that people weren't being helped by the messages that are out there, and I couldn't be part of it anymore.
hmm. That's probably the most impressive thing I took away from our conversation last night and from watching your TikToks, because I was like blown away with watching your TikToks. I'm like, see, because like I would listen to you talk about Jesus, maybe not even being real, but it's definitely not white, or it's definitely not this guy from Oxford, or and all this. And I'm like, listen, I'm like, and then you would get like comments that you would respond to from people saying, you were a pastor, how could you do this to us, or whatever. And you're responding, you said something that was so familiar to me in my experience, but at the same time from a different place. Because you said something to the effect of, I'm going to butcher this, um, but you, oh yeah, you had said, I didn't come here and start this TikTok channel to convert Christians to
Right,
atheism. I
right,
came here to talk to atheists. If you're not liking our content, then
right,
that makes sense. And I'm
right.
like, that's me with the Church of Korihor. People ask me, aren't you supposed to be converting me from my religion? I'm like, I'm not out here to get you. I'm out here to find the
No,
atheists.
mm-mm,
I'm out here to help to create a spiritual journey
right,
for atheists and agnostics. And
right.
if you believe in God, you're not my target audience. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just
I'm not
not.
I'm not talking to you. You know,
That's right.
if you want to go down to your church and still lift your hands and worship your God and run around your churches and believe in your Jesus and pray 3 times a week and give your tithe and offering, I'm not at you will never see me standing in front of your church with a sign saying God's not real. You won't see me, not there. You'll never see me on someone else's Facebook post that said, God is the best thing ever. You'll never see my comment on there saying, no, he's not. See
Mm-mm.
it, you know. But you will see me on my content talking about, how I think this stuff is harmful, toxic, dehumanizing. It doesn't help people. It takes you away from everything you need: self-love, self-worth, self-appreciation, self-value. It takes you away from that. You have to start, and I know you know this, but you have to start with the basis of you're no good. You are no good. You are just rotten. You are deplorable. You're despicable. You're disgusting. And if it were not for God's little mercy, he would, just destroy you in a half of a second. That's how disgusting you are to him. That's where you have to start. Now, you may not utter that, but ultimately, that's what coming to Jesus because you're a dirty sinner means. You're just a disgusting piece of nothing. And you have to embrace that daily in your Christian experience by saying, you must go away so that Jesus will come and increase. You got to go away. Joe, you don't matter. You came here. I know you, you don't matter. You're insignificant.
Mm,
And when I started thinking about it like that, I was like, well, why the hell are we here then? I mean,
mm,
if this God just wanted little Jesuses all over the planet, why not just populate the earth with Jesuses?
right.
You know? So we do matter. We do have immense value outside of Jesus. And then one day it hit me. Billions upon billions of people have lived, are living today, and will live at some point. And they will never pick up a Bible, and they'll never try to figure out who Jesus is, and they'll still have happy, peaceful, successful, loving lives. And I said, that's all I need to know.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that a lot. That's a quite a perspective. Yeah. It's interesting for me. I hear you say that, and the thing I pick up is this. It really is a person who has a genuine love of other people and a passion for service that had nothing. Obviously, it played a part in your pastoral responsibility, I'm sure,
Mhm.
but it seems like it outgrows it, and you see this a lot with ex clergy who said,
Yeah.
including myself when I was a missionary for 2 years, but like
Mhm.
get out. By the time I was out of it, I'm like, I love the Peruvian people too much to
Yeah.
keep lying to them and telling them these things.
Right.
When I look out here and I see real needs that our
Right.
church is doing nothing for,
Right.
and while we're telling them, by the way, you're going to commit to be baptized, and then you're going to tithe, you're going to pay 10% of every paycheck to the church, and you're going to blah blah.
Right.
And it's like there's it's almost like you see, you particularly see a spiritual crisis
Hmm.
for atheists and agnostics and people deconstructing from religion, and
Hmm.
see a higher calling outside of religion. Does that make
Hmm.
is that about where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
about right?
Because at the end of the day, I just want to help people know that they are worthy as themselves. You're good as as you are. I mean, I'm not talking about your issues, mistakes. We all have them, you know. I'm on record for saying if Jesus was a human being, if he really did exist, he was nowhere near the lily white perfect little 5-minute version we get in the Bible. It's impossible. It's impossible. It'd be impossible for him not to wake up one day as a 13-year-old boy, have a hard on, and jerk off. If he's a human being, there's no way he didn't do it. He didn't do it. I mean, he
Right.
didn't do it. It was no way for him. I mean, I thought about it like this too, and this really ticked off some Christians when I said it years ago. But I said, think about how cruel it would have been for God to send Jesus to this earth. Say, you're going to live 33 and a half years. Now, you're going to be a human. Now, I want you to understand that 12, 11, 12, 13. I put something in humans and especially boys, and that little thing clicks. And from that moment on, he's horny as can be. But you can't taste any of it. You can't do none of it. I mean,
Yes, Dad.
how unfair would that be to
Yeah.
Jesus,
Right.
right? How unfair would that be? He's coming to work the next day, one day, and Peter, the boys are together. Say, yeah, man, I got me some last night, man. I had my wife. I'm like, see what this, that, and the third, and Jesus was like, oh, sorry, Jesus. Yeah,
It's like,
how unfair
you
would it
guys have
have
to
been
talk
for?
about this when I'm here.
Yeah,
Gosh.
exactly, right. So it would have just been unnaturally unfair for him to be this pristine, perfect person that never did anything wrong. And sex isn't wrong, so let's get that out there. But of course, the religious image it is.
Mm.
So I thought about stuff like that as I was deconverting. Is if Jesus was a real human being, he had some shit in his life too. I mean, it would have been impossible not to. And I know they try to stir it with the virgin birth thing, so he didn't have sin nature in him. But if that's true, then aren't women classified as born sinners too? So this not a man thing.
Mhm.
Well, he didn't get a man, he didn't get human seed. He got seeded by the Holy Spirit. Yeah, but it went into a woman who was sinner at birth, according to everybody else, just like everybody else. So he's half sinner, half Holy Ghost at best.
And if he weren't, then why would his being pure be important or relevant in any way? It's like if he didn't have the same flesh that we have, the same
Right.
temptations that we have,
Exactly.
then it'd be like, well, be like unto Jesus. That's not fair.
Yeah,
He's not
exactly.
God.
Exactly. Exactly. So, when you start thinking about these things, and I have this slogan I have, it says, thinking is good. Because when you start giving this stuff thought, and people often ask me, well, what was it? What changed? How did you change? How did you start? What happened? And I say, the shortest answer is I just started thinking. That's the shortest answer. Started thinking.
That's
One
right.
thought led to another, led to another, led to another, led to another.
I would imagine you'd get called out more for saying something like that than anything else. Oh, I
Yeah,
started thinking I couldn't
I've said
believe
it.
it.
Yeah, I've said it. You know,
I mean, it takes some courage to say that, but like we said, it's not your calling to. If it's not, I tell people like, look, if you challenge me, especially Mormons, I say, look, if you challenge me where some atheists will see me, well, you and I are going to go head to head, and I'm going to be as
sure,
friendly as I can about it because I want those
absolutely,
atheists to see that I've got the conviction of what I'm talking about. But
absolutely.
am I going to come into your home and like start telling your children, your
Yeah,
dad's shit, right? No, of
yeah,
course not.
yeah. Of course
That's
not.
not what
Yeah,
I'm about.
that's not what we do.
And but I'm curious about this because I only got you for a few minutes, and I got this burning question for you. And you tell me nothing. It's a Joe, and that's a stupid question, and we'll move on. We'll talk about I don't know, speaking in tongues or something. But is there something that you miss about
No,
church?
no,
Okay, so speaking in tongues, nothing at all.
nothing,
Wow.
nothing.
The community, the buildings, the cool robes. Do you have cool robes? Or did you sit more suit
I'm
and tie?
a I own a business, but I've been in corporate America
Mm,
for some years. So I've been in business in corporate America, kind of in and out, right? And during the years that I was trying to live full time as a pastor, I was all I had was church community.
mm,
And now that I no longer have that, and I'm self-employed. Of course, I don't have the corporate community where you go into an office and all the people there. Hey Joe, hey Bob, hey Diane, hey Jim, hey, I don't have that. I miss that. I miss the corporate community, you know,
wow.
because those people were real. You had a big, mesh of people coming to work every day being real.
Mm,
And I never, when I was out of church, I never told people I was a pastor. When I was working in jobs, I never told people I was a pastor because I never wanted people to feel like they had to be some kind of way around me. I didn't want to put that burden on them because I
mm,
knew what would happen. I'm a pastor. Oh, so now everybody feels like they can't cuss. They got to watch what they say. I didn't want to put that burden on people. You didn't come here to do that for me. So I didn't tell people I was a pastor. I wanted you to come to work and be in that environment before. Now I didn't go and cut up like they did. They knew it was something different about me, but I still kept that close to me, never to them. So, and that was intentional. But if I miss any community, I miss the corporate community because it was real over there. It was,
mm,
some of those people I still know today. I still know church people today too, but none of the corporate people turned their backs on me when I went to another job.
mhm.
A lot of church folk,
The
you know,
shunning. You don't
yeah,
shun you when you
yeah,
switch corporations, which is
yeah,
funny because switching churches is basically the same thing as
yeah,
switching
exactly,
corporations.
exactly. You know how
So
many
let me ask.
pastor friends don't talk to me anymore?
Oh,
You know,
really? Is that real?
yeah, yeah, that's
Oh, I
true.
bet.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet. I
Only
was
a handful still talk to me.
amazed at how like for the first like 10 years outside the church, like I couldn't talk to most of the people from my past. And then one day it was a person I served with on my mission who contacted me, who's now a high up leader, fairly high up leader in South America, in Peru, in the Mormon church, who reached out to me like, hey, on Facebook. And it's like, hey, just want to catch up with you. What's going on with you? And I'm like, I was excommunicated from the church for apostasy. I wrote a book against the church called The Core Horror Argument. And he's like, what are you, some kind of atheist? Yeah. I'm like, and he's like, but not like one of the toxic, like mean atheists. No, definitely. I'm an anti-theist. I'm a Christopher Hitchens great anti-theist. I just don't turn it on for everybody. But we can still be friends. And he was like, okay. And then all of a sudden he's like, hey, you should talk to. And he starts going over all these missionaries he stayed in touch with 20 years down the line, who have all left the Mormon church. he's like,
Mm.
like, I hardly know anybody we served with who hasn't left the church. And I was like, see, I didn't stay in touch with anybody. I didn't know that. But I'm like,
Yeah,
boy, we
that's
were all
cool.
out there kind of deconstructing together. It's like, what the fuck are we doing here? What are we experiencing here?
See,
And
yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
sorry. I don't think religion can withstand where we are as a human race.
Mm,
Intelligence has increased and it's increasing. Technology has increased and it's increasing. Science has increased and increasing. You know, where we in the major religions that exist all are sitting around a campfire that's thousands of years old. The instruction manuals outside of the Mormons, because I know that's a more recent one with Joseph Smith in relation to Moses, but these manuals were largely written by people who thought that thunder was the voice of a god talking. So I can't see how religion can sustain itself much longer in the light of intelligence, information, technology, science that's been on this ship rocket ship speed trajectory. You know, Uh, I mean, iPhone came out in 2007. Yeah, nearly 20 years ago. But I remember I had the first iPhone 7. It didn't even have internet capability, or it didn't have a camera for sure. It did have internet capability, but it didn't have a camera, right? Here we are now, years later, and I could do more with this iPhone than I could definitely do with the last one, right? And,
right.
and this is a very short period of time. And I'm not talking about, you know, that all of a sudden we can do all these things. I mean, within 5 years of the iPhone, I mean, we were doing some things we never thought possible on a phone. And that's just how quickly technology is advancing, and this information and science and tech and intelligence. So we're growing at a very rapid rate, humanity, and we're moving into this deeper level of consciousness and our awareness. And these old, antiquated religious ideologies just don't fit.
Yeah.
So that's a big reason why so many people are pulling away. And the fact that it's becoming very, very difficult to sell this God to people,
Mhm.
you know? Um, Whether people really believe NASA is real and we really went into outer space, but I think the majority of people believe that is true, you know, and they've been digging wells for oil for decades, digging down to the depths of the earth. No
Yeah.
one has, oops, there's hell. Let's back
Yep.
that drill up.
Back it up.
No, no satellite, no spaceship, no anything has. Oh my God, we've approached heaven. So, you know, what can we say? You know, we're still following sheep herders and such. And I just don't think it's sustainable. And it's doomed to collapse. And I'm not say doomed like it's bad, but like it's destined. Let me use that word. It's destined to collapse.
Hmm. And it's interesting, they say, like the Steven Pinkers of the world
Hmm.
will say that, our IQ today, the average IQ is so high. And it's really difficult for people who have logic
Right.
processing
Hmm.
skills, fast logic processing
Right.
skills, not only to experience God, but also as the IQ of people raises, we also see a lot of anxiety.
Mhm.
And because people start to put together not only atheism, but at the same time, nihilism
Right.
and the meaninglessness of
Hmm.
suffering in life can
Right.
drive you a little bit bonkers. And so that's why we do see that a lot of atheists have depression or had depression, then became atheists, or what have you. And then we have anxiety, and especially a lot of people who are neurodivergent. We do a lot of work in the Church of Korihor with autism and ADHD, and we'll do a lot of talking about that as a need for communities,
Right.
for autistic people who by and large aren't looking for community, and at the same time need one, and need a way to handle anxiety. And nihilism is kind of like the worst thing for us in a way, but at the same time you look at it and say, but that's really just us being honest with ourselves and letting our brains work in the way that our brains work.
Right.
If we can if there's a spiritual experience for intelligent people, high IQ people, and for people who are neurodivergent, including obsessive compulsive disorder and all these many other things that now are appearing to be more on the spectrum.
Right.
It seems to me like we need more voices to be able to say, you can have wonder, you can have transformative experience, you can outgrow, you can outgrow religion and become a better person.
Sure.
And grow as a person without religion. Here's how I do it. Is there anything for you as an atheist now? And I've kind of said it for you here, because it didn't give you an opportunity to say for yourself. Sorry. Do you as an atheist have some spiritual practice or something that's significant for you?
If I do, I would call it the practice of me. Right. So I've always known myself to be a good person, kind, considerate, full of empathy and compassion, helpful. Now, maybe everyone can't say that to the same degree, but what I believe about every single human being alive is that we're all made from the pure essence of love. That's what I deeply believe, that's who we really are. Now, there's a whole bunch of shit that gets cluttered and gets in the way of us understanding that. And I think religion is one of those big prohibitors that gets in the way of us understanding that. Because again, when you tell a person they need a filter, they need a stand between, they need something else other than themselves, you devalue that person from the jump. And how can you, Joe, ever really understand the depths of your compassion and love and empathy and ability to be kind if you don't know it's in you already, and you got to keep believing this God or this Jesus to give it to you whenever you feel you don't feel it or something. Jesus, help me. I'm feeling I'm about to lose it. Jesus, you better come take the wheel and all that kind of stuff. Or is it just as simple as, Joe, come on, let's think this through a little bit. Let's look at this a little bit slower. Let's consider what this person may be going through, whatever the case might be. You know, um, I'll give a moment of transparency here. When I first heard the news today, being a person that individual speaks very negatively about our community, there wasn't a first initial. I didn't know the details, but there wasn't a sense of, oh my gosh, you know. Now, when I heard the finality, there was that moment of, oh, then you think from a human perspective, this should not happen to any human being, you know.
Sure.
Um, so that's my transparent moment. And the first initial was like, well, I mean, he out here saying all this stuff. I mean, I mean, but when I heard the finality of it, then the full humanness of it hits me, and I'm like, that shouldn't have happened. That not, that shouldn't have. Then when I saw the video, that broke me up. So every one of us has that ability, right? I see people almost celebrating even the finality of what happened. And that person celebrating is just choosing to overlook the humanity in the story. But they don't have to, right? And then I'm not judging anyone that is celebrating. I'm just saying you can feel how you feel, but let's not overlook the humanity in the story. When we
Mm,
overlook humanity in these stories, humans get hurt in the process. You know,
mhm,
if they're nothing but a bunch of migrants, people are going to get hurt in that process. If they're nothing but a bunch of savages, people are going to get hurt in that process. You know, if they're nothing but a bunch of N-words, people are going to get hurt in that process. If they're nothing but a bunch of, racist supremacists, people are going to get hurt in that process. So when we stop seeing the humanity of people because of how they act, people are going to get hurt. So my challenge is I still want to see the human, no matter how much I despise what they're doing or saying. I need to still see the human. Now that's the responsibility we bear on ourselves. No God can do that for us. So that's what I mean. Like my spiritual process is for Kyle. How can Kyle connect to what he believes is true to his core, and that's love, compassion, empathy, kindness towards humanity? That's my job. That's where I do my work. Not to say I'm perfect, not to say I go through life skipping and hopping and loving everyone no matter what, and you spit in my face and I'll give you a hug. Not saying that. Just saying I want to love people to the point I do no harm to people to
mm,
that extent.
mm. I love this. I mean, it feels like to me, like I'm hearing you saying that you recognize how relying on God was holding you back from your intuition
Right.
and trusting yourself, which is
Hmm.
very familiar and at the same time very reassuring. And at the same time, that gives you the strength to not otherize people, because
Right.
if we tell ourselves, oh, otherizing people groups, that's something that they do, the community we
Right.
came out of, or
Right.
this other community over there, that's something only they do, and in the process we otherize them just in doing that right there. It's like, oh, I'm doing it right now.
Right.
And so it is a very human tendency that we
Hmm.
have to resist, and
Right.
that's an important spiritual practice, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Well, I have kept you for an hour. Did it hurt?
No, no, it's always fun.
Pretty easy going. So
Yeah.
I want to thank Kyle Butler, is also known as at Kyle Talks, when Kyle underscore Talks. Is that right? On
Yes.
top?
Hmm. Yep.
And any closing words that you can share with us today before we wrap up?
Yeah. I always like to close whenever I'm being on a interviewed on a podcast. I always want people to know. Once again, I know I said a little bit of this a few minutes ago, but I just want you to know how good you the person are, you know. And I want you to through the maze of all the confusion you may have in your life, I want you to start to think about how much you don't love yourself. And in that process, I hope you see the small areas of your life where you can love yourself a little bit more. And then you capitalize on those things and start to do those things and then let it grow from there. Because I don't think there's a greater love that we can ever experience than the love we first have for ourselves. And you're worthy of that love for yourself. You're worthy of that. And I hope you find it. And I hope you live in it. And I hope you relish it. And I hope you blow it up as big as it can be. Because in that, you'll begin to see other people in the value that they are and how they should be doing the same thing for themselves. So I encourage you, you know, when I see you, I want to see you doing that for you because it's that important. It really is.
I love that. I needed that. I don't know if you could tell, but I needed that. And I hope that people out there now and in the future, and you all, everyone, you are all in the future. Uh, don't tell us what happens. I don't want to know. But I mean, I think that will be a great message that will be useful to many people. So I thank you for that. Friends, we're gonna end with a closing hymn, and I am going to go and make sure that my autistic son is not flooding the kitchen. And just real quick, I'll be here, but I just wanted to share with you a closing hymn, Kyle. I told you a little bit about our exemplar, who is fictional but is a legend. His name is Korihor. Korihor. Everyone. You love that.
I love that.
I was
I
glad you
love
were
that.
amused by that,
Yeah, I heard
right?
that last night. I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, Corehor, it's incredible. I love it.
It amuses me to think Joseph Smith came up with this name. And he's like, I'm going to come up with some detestable character who argues against God. We're going to call him Korihor. And, and now Mormons look at ex-Mormons and they call us Korihors. And like, you're such a Korihor. And I'm like, fuck it, man. We're going to take that. We're going to goddamn run with it, man.
That's
Fuck
right.
yeah,
That's
let's
right.
go.
That's right. That's
We
right.
even have t-shirts. I got to get you a t-shirt that you can work out in. You look at me like a man who works out.
I did my push-ups right before the show, so yeah.
There we go. I'm gonna get you one of my sweat tank tops, some of my muscle shirts that say "sweating like a whore in church," and it's like sweating like a whore in church.
I love it.
You're gonna love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank Kyle again. I am gonna go turn off the water, and I'll be right back. But first, I want to share with all of you all our anthem for the Church of Korihor. It is "O Korihor." Remember, my friends, that your friend Joe says, "Flash bright." I started at the beginning.
Oh, Korihor, you dare to speak forbidden truths that make men free. By Alma's hand, unholy sorcery, they stole your voice for Nephite tyranny. From hypocrisy, starved to be free. He died for me. Ignite my mind. Dogma consume. Oh, Korihor, I'll speak for you. Contrary to law, they bound you for thinking, but without a word, they all debates forfeit. Battle of wits, charlatans unarmed, beguile their sheep with holy bullshit.
Ignite my mind from hypocrisy. Start to be free.
Die for me.
Ignite my mind. Dogma consume. Korihor, I'll speak for you.
To honor their God, they showed you no mercy, turned you away, Mammon's altar to feed. Oh, wicked duress, they broke your solemn mind, crucified you with bread to fuel their heartless greed.
Kyle, thank you very much for being on the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Joe.